Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thanks for stopping by as always. Let me start with some home thoughts. There's a super documentary which is curated by Jeremy Irons, which is about leopards in Botswana, but I haven't given you that link. Instead, I've given you a photograph from Londo Lozi, an incredible sighting of mating leopards in the open. If you get a chance, do take a look at it. It's such an extraordinary photograph. I don't know, I think it describes sensuality, I suppose, of a kind, and that took me, of course, to Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa, who said, "Love, of course, love, flames for a year, ashes for 30. I don't think that, but I thought it was an interesting contrast. If we want everything to remain as it is, it will be necessary for everything to change. Nowhere has truth such a short life as in Sicily. A fact has scarcely happened 5 minutes before its genuine kernel has vanished, been camouflaged, embellished, disfigured, squashed, annihilated by imagination and self-interest, shame, fear, generosity, malice, opportunism, charity, all the passions, good as well as evil, fling themselves onto the fact and tear it to pieces. Very soon it has vanished altogether." And a photograph I took of a leopard in a tree in the Samburu. Look at the eyes and the tail as well. And a couple of final points. One, this quote from Ernest Hemingway, "A movable feast. As I ate the oysters with their strong taste of the sea, and their faint metallic taste that the cold white wine washed away, leaving only the sea taste and the succulent texture. And as I drank their cold liquid from each shell and washed it down with the crisp taste of the wine, I lost the empty feeling and began to be happy and to make plans." Ernest Hemingway. And leave you with one quote from Paul Virilio, The Administration of Fear, and I think it explains a lot about how the world is as we find it. That struck me that attacks in developed countries were up 650% into 2015. Political reflections. POTUS Barack Obama has, in my view, I listened to some of the excerpts of his speech, a real class act, beautiful and lyrical, and an American patriot, and always tilting faces up, isn't he? And it made me think, after all that, we're now going to this new delinquency normal. White House tweeted Obama farewell. I disagreed with Barack Obama on many things. The drone war was one of the things I thought was completely wrong. But what a civilized, classy individual, always going high. He said it's become safer to retreat into our own bubbles, accept only info, whether true or not, that fits our opinions, he said. I've seen him lead the world not just by the example of our power, but by the power of our example. That's another quote of his. History travels not only forwards, history can travel backwards, history can travel sideways. I looked at Trump's tweets, as I normally do in the morning, and he tweeted fake news, a total political witch hunt. This is a BuzzFeed report where a dossier is making explosive but unverified allegations that the Russian government has been cultivating, supporting, and assisting President-elect Donald Trump for years, and gained compromising information about him. Has been circulating among elected officials, intelligence agents, and journalists for weeks. The dossier, which is a collection of memos written over a period of months, includes specific, unverified, and potentially unverifiable allegations of contact between Trump aides and Russian operatives, and graphic claims of sexual acts documented by the Russians. BuzzFeed News reporters in the US and Europe have been investigating various alleged facts in the dossier, but have not verified or falsified them. CNN reported Tuesday that a 2-page synopsis of the report was given to President Obama and President Trump. The full report is also linked on the website. It's on a document cloud. And my first point is, given previous allegations we've heard, this could enter Tiger Woods territory, I'm afraid. Newsweek is calling it the infamous golden shower memo. I went back to a photograph when Trump went to visit President Obama in the White House, and I thought to myself, I looked at that photograph, what was President Obama thinking, and what did he know at that point? The Russian ruble and default swaps, take a look, they've had a very strong rally, and that rally should continue, notwithstanding what comes out of what's happened here. WikiLeaks has become extremely partisan in the last few sessions, and I think gives away a lot. WikiLeaks is a 100% record of accurate authentication. We do not endorse BuzzFeed's publication of a document which is clearly bogus, they're saying. I wrote about President Trump on November the 14th. I quoted Beppe Grillo. I said this is the deflagration of an epoch. It's the apocalypse of this information system, of the TVs, of the big newspapers, of the intellectuals, of the journalists. And I said this is another important point. Traditional media has lost its position of control. It has been upended by the internet, which allowed insurgent politics to broadcast over the top. Nigel Farage tweets, so pleased that Donald Trump has taken up my suggestion of putting the Winston Churchill bust back in place. Trump's inauguration will have soft sensuality, poetic cadence. So we've got a very fluid situation here, and I think this could really spin out of control real quick. Millions marched in Tehran to mourn the death of the ex-moderate President Rafsanjani. I put up 2 photographs from that. There was talk that the government was not keen on showing the numbers, and that there was sort of quite a lot of crowd noise about releasing political prisoners. Pakistan fired a submarine-based nuclear cruise missile yesterday. Chinese naval aviation forces have conducted a drill in the Sea of Japan without targeting any specific nation. And Taiwan Scrambles Jets and Navy as China aircraft carrier into the Taiwan Strait. I think the pivot to Asia is being reversed right in front of us. The Taiwanese are saying we have full grasp of its movements. Interesting report came out, Global Trends, the Paradox of Progress. Events unfold in complex ways for which our brains are not naturally wired. Economic, political, social, technological, and cultural forces collide in dizzying ways. So we can be led to confuse recent dramatic events with the more important ones. It is tempting and usually fair to assume people act rationally, but leaders, groups, mobs, and masses can behave very differently and unexpectedly under similar circumstances. The next 5 years will see rising tensions within and between countries. Global growth will slow just as increasingly complex global challenges impend. An ever-widening range of states, organizations, and empowered individuals will shape geopolitics. Interesting report, do take a look. Migrant flows are greater now than in the past 70 years, raising the spectre of drained welfare coffers and increased competition for jobs. Let's move on. One final thing, Russia and Turkey are urging that the Syrian ceasefire hold, calling for the need to observe a truce. Let's see what happens. US 10-year yields, this is from Holger. I was very bearish. We've got a very dramatic move. I think, we've got to take our money off the table and take a look at it all again and wait for a better opportunity. Euro dollar 105.59, dollar index 102.13, Japanese yen 115.96, Swiss franc 101.75, the Australian dollar is at 0.7385. The pound, which has been soft, 121.60. India rupee 68.255, South Korean won 1192.75, the Rial 319.56, Egyptian pound 18.7235, South African rand 13.7679. I'll put up a one-year chart of sterling, and it's very much trading on the language. Prime Minister Theresa May is clearly drawing a red line around the free movement of people. Commodity markets, gold, we're now at 1188.71. We've had quite a strong January in point of fact on heightened geopolitical risks. Next stop, $50 a barrel, asks Javier Blas. Have a look at the chart. On the 28th of November, I said I do not see WTI trading above $60 under any circumstances. Why the lira is in trouble, 2017's worst performer in the charts. I wrote about this when I said the Turkish lira finds itself at the epicenter of the Syrian blowback. Sub-Saharan Africa, Afro-visual data, democracy in Africa, demand versus supply. There is plenty of demand. This is that moment when you've got this enormous demographic bulge who are demanding democracy and are actually potentially very anti-incumbent because the number is so large, it's such a big bulge, and that's why I keep saying, is it a dividend or a terminator? Moody Investment Services, Sub-Saharan Africa, at 27 outlook negative amid liquidity stress, low growth and political risk. Uganda's leader has made his son his advisor. Critics see this as a succession plan. President Museveni was my guest at Mindspeak. If you've never seen it, do take a look. South African all share up 2.15% this year. Dollar versus rand, a little bit softer on the rand, but I think you buy the rand on dips. Annual consumer price inflation in Egypt City soared to a second straight 8-year high in December, hitting 23.3% on the back of the government's decision to float the pound. The Egyptian pound sold off from levels around 18 to 18.7239. The Truth Heals initiative takes out a full-page ad to make urgent appeal to stop harassment, impunity against patients. Jonathan. Nigeria's Jonathan has been named in an Italian kickback probe. Italian prosecutors have alleged that Nigeria's former President Goodluck Jonathan and his oil minister received kickbacks as part of a $1.3 billion deal involving oil giants Eni and Shell. Jonathan, who left office in May 2015, and Dizani Alison Madueke, his longtime petroleum minister, who was also the first woman president of OPEC, do not feature on the list, but they are alleged to have played a central role in the deal, which saw Eni and Shell make a $1.3 billion payment in 2011 for an offshore oil block in Nigeria. No formal charges have been brought. Eni CEO Claudio Descalzi and his predecessor Paolo Scaroni met Jonathan in person to thrash out the deal, which also involved former British intelligence agents working as advisors for Shell, it was alleged. Prosecutors allege Eni and Shell executives worked with Nigerian businessman Dan Etete, who was oil minister under the military ruler Sani Abacha from 95 to 98. After talks in Milan and Abuja, the block was bought illegally by the oil majors in contravention of domestic laws without competitive tendering and with full unconditional exemption from all national taxes. A total of $801.5 million was allegedly transferred to Etete's Malibu accounts, of which $466 million was converted into cash in Nigeria. A further $54 million was withdrawn by Abubakar Aliyu, whom prosecutors describe as an agent of Jonathan. The beneficiaries of the money went on a shopping spree, buying property, aeroplanes, armoured cars, prosecutors added. Eni and Royal Dutch Shell have both denied wrongdoing. Have a look at this. The Naira black market rate is now at its widest against the official rate. Nigerian all share down 1.97% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index up 1.07% this year. I'm cautiously bullish. We, Al Jazeera, have been exploring the hip side of Congo Brazzaville with a style icon, a rap artist, a wrestler, a radio talk show host. Pretty entertaining, do take a look. Bloomberg carried a report dated 9th of January. Felix and Genie headlined Kenyan central bank said to warn traders over shilling decline. The link is there for you to have a read. It's quite interesting. Do take a look at what I wrote over the weekend, the shilling. And my point of view, everyone's obsessed with the dollar rate, but really you have to look at a trade-weighted index. Last time I checked, it was at 103.80. It's down about 2.17% since Donald Trump's election. The dollar is up about 5. So already you can see that it's outperformed that dollar increase by 50%. And therefore, I, for one, am not throwing in the towel, although if you read some of the comments, definitely people are very, very nervous. Go ahead and sack us, Kenyan doctors tell government. This is from DW News. This is the doctors who've been on strike for quite a while. Nairobi all share fell 1.27% yesterday. It's now at a more than 3-year low. It's down 4.59% year to date. It's been a very poor start to the year at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. And finally, the NSE 20 is down 3.22% year to date. That's at a multi-year low, 5-year low. But what's interesting there is you're seeing a small outperformance of the NSE versus the all share. Go back to that Paul Virilio comment I did not read to you, and I've got it now. Let me leave you with this thought. We are facing the emergence of a real collective madness, reinforced by the synchronization of emotions, the sudden globalization of effects in real time that hits all of humanity at the same time, and in the name of progress, emergency exit. We have entered a time of general panic. And I think that applies not only to the real time and to the way we're responding, the new Twitter guru Donald Trump, but also to the markets, that you get these huge, impossible moves that you never thought were possible before. On that note, I shall take my leave and appreciate the fact that you came by and stopped by. Thank you.